your life. It can unmake or make my life, and it can make or unmake your future, the future of our next generation, which is so dear and important to me. And so I welcome you. And as we have always been doing, there's also going to be an opportunity for you to get interactive with us. The WhatsApp line, which is on the screen, the social media handles that we have on the screen. When you share your thoughts, you share your questions, your comments, it will be read for you, and at the appropriate and the right time, we will digest. And if we need to respond to those comments and questions, we will do same. If we don't need to respond to it, but also learn from it as a platform of learning from each other, we will also share it with all of us for us to appreciate exactly the minds that all of us are having in relation to transforming the future of this country. This evening, as always, we are going to have another informative episode. And the belief is that at the end of it all, we will have a change of mindset. The new government had its mantra saying resetting Ghana, or resetting the future of Ghana. And I have always said that the resetting starts with the mindset. And so this platform is a platform that will contribute in helping each and every one of us to gradually reset our mindset. There were some who were saying the Ghana we need. Others were saying the Ghana we want, and they had all of it. But tonight, we are going to discuss the Ghana we deserve. As people, as citizens, it is not always that what we need is exactly what we deserve. And it is not always that what we want is what we deserve. Most often, what we deserve goes beyond what we need and what we want. And that is why this evening, we are going to discuss the Ghana we deserve, the Ghana you and I deserve. I believe you have an idea of the kind of Ghana that we deserve. And that is why I'm inviting you to send in your comments and your contributions as to the kind of Ghana we deserve. Indeed, we will zoom in a bit more on two thematic areas, and one has to do with the Office of the Special Prosecutor in line with the fight against corruption, which is very, very important, and it is very key. Then we'll also look at one other aspect, which I'll mention to you right after we are back from the commercial break, as we've always been doing. So we'll take a commercial break, and when we come back, I will introduce to you the guests that we are going to have this evening to lead us in this conversation. And even before we start the conversation, feel free and send in your messages and your comments. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance.
Just dial *426*5# on all networks. Follow the prompt, pick a lucky box, and reveal your cash prize. It's that simple. Win massive, up to 500,000 Ghana cedis. Don't miss your chance. Players all over Ghana are winning now.
I won!
What are you waiting for? Dial *426*5# or visit www.megacashluckybox.com and play on our web portal. The minimum to play is 5 Ghana cedis. Your lucky box could be holding that big cash prize. Mega Cash Lucky Box. Dial *426*5# and win instant cash today. Don't wait. Remember, terms and conditions apply and is NLA approved on the Caritas Lottery platform.
Welcome back, and I want to thank you for keeping tuned with us. As I indicated always, this is your transformative program, and I'm still your host, Emmanuel Jr. This evening, we are going to have a conversation on the Ghana we deserve. What kind of country do we deserve as citizens? And today, the focus, even though it is generic, but we'll talk a bit more on two thematic areas, and that has to do with youth employment and the terminations of appointment that we had. That's in the directives that came from the Office of the President in reference to individuals who have been employed after a certain period, that is after the elections, being directed to, go home. In other words, the appointment being terminated. We are going to look at it and also look at how that affects employment in this country. The other one we'll be looking at has to do with the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the matters of corruption. And this evening, I have with me two gentlemen. Today's platform, I indicated that it's going to be a platform where we'll hear the voice of the youth. But I keep wondering if my guests are really youth. But definitely they are youth at heart. That I know for sure. These are individuals I have known for years, and we've been, I can tell you the passion they have when it comes to matters of the youth and when it comes to governance issues in this country. And the first that I can introduce to you is my very far left. He's a journalist and an author. He has a book which he just showed to me, and it is called Unchained. I'm sure at the right time, I'll talk a bit more on it and as to where you can get some to buy and all that. We'll look at it. So this one is Unchained, and the name is over there. So I'm making reference to Mr. Sakut Amenga Itego. Even though he's a good friend, I keep wondering if I am able to mention his full name rightly. Sakut, welcome to Politics and Beyond. It's been a while. I hope all is well.
All is under control.
Fantastic. And how was your day?
The day was fantastic.
Great.
I thank you for inviting me to your very popular platform.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And congratulations on your book too. I'm sure we'll have 1 or 2 minutes to talk a bit on it. Then immediate on my left is also a very good friend that I have known for a very long time, and I'm making reference to the Secretary of the Coalition for Social Justice in the person of Mr. Awudu Ishak. Ishak, welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Thank you, boss.
You look good.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yes.
I hope all is well. And how was your day?
Well, some things will be well, others will not be well.
It is well.
But we take everything in our strides.
Exactly.
We keep moving.
Exactly. It's a matter of time. I'm sure that which is yet to be well will surely be well.
It's a huge honor to be on this platform. This is my first time.
Exactly.
I've been seeing your flyers.
Right.
And so I couldn't, as it were, miss the opportunity to be here.
It's a pleasure. And I'm sure this is also the first time Sakut is being on the platform. And so we want to thank you and welcome you to our platform. Indeed, we'll set the ball rolling, and it's going to be very simple. We've been around for a while now. We've been in the struggle for a while now. And over the past years, our passion has been to have a better Ghana, if not for our sake, for the sake of our next generation. And we take solace and encouragement from other countries that started with us and the fact that they are way ahead of us. I'm not comfortable comparing Ghana to countries that we are a bit ahead of. I want to compare Ghana to the excellent ones and not those who are struggling. Sakut, what kind of Ghana do you think Ghanaians deserve?
Thank you so much, my brother, for inviting me.
Right.
And for these thought-provoking subjects that you want us to discuss. What kind of Ghana do we deserve? This is a thesis that you are seeking
very well,
seeking from us. But I think what the everyday man, woman, child wants as a Ghanaian is to live in a country where the basic needs are not a worry for families. Basic needs, for example, there should be food sufficiency or food security in our country. Everybody should have a place to lay their heads at night and sleep. Everybody should be able to use their energies to apply their skills, their knowledge, to work, to earn a living. Everybody should be able to chase their dreams, and everybody should feel secure. Everybody should feel free to express themselves without fear of being targeted by those who are more powerful. We should all be very confident in our state institutions. For example, our courts. When you're going to court, we should all expect that there's justice. That justice is not just a word, or that is not something that is for the benefit of the powerful people or the rich people, but it's for all citizens. That the court should be a place that everybody should go and get justice.
That's right.
That when you send people to parliament to go and legislate and to make laws for us, that it will be our interest that they are representing, not their own interest, not interest of lobbies, not individual interests, but the national interest of we the ones following. If we elect people to lead us as like the president, his ministers, etc., that they are there to, their primary concern is to satisfy the needs of the masses, the people, not themselves. So it may sound idealistic, but this is the country we deserve, because don't forget, this country is called Gold Coast. Why? Because this country is so rich of minerals and natural resources. God has blessed Ghana, and yet Ghanaians are suffering and struggling. So we cannot blame God. We can only blame ourselves. And why do I say we blame ourselves? People always say that, the problem we have is bad leadership. But who puts bad leadership in place? It's we the people. That's right. So we blame ourselves. Why do we live in abundance and yet we are hungry? Why do you have so much water and we are thirsty? You know, why do you have so much resources and yet we give it to foreigners?
That's right.
So we deserve a country, Ghana, where our resources belong to us, belong to Ghanaians, not foreigners, not individuals, not only those who have money, but even those who don't have money also deserve to live a happy life in this country. Right. So, yeah, as I said, it's a thesis. It's a thesis.
That's right.
What we deserve.
That's right. In fact, in all your submission, there's one thing that got my attention, and you keep repeating the word everybody.
That's right.
Everybody. Everybody. Indeed, from your perspective, we deserve a country where institutions are working, where everybody is treated equally before institutions, where everybody has the access to basic necessities like food, shelter, education,
That's right.
and all that. The word is everybody.
Everybody.
I'll come back to that. Ishak, your take on this.
Well, I think that what we all expect to happen in Ghana, in my opinion, has been succinctly captured in Chapter 6 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
Very well.
If you go to Article 34, it talks about the responsibility that is placed on those in authority. It talks about what is expected of the President of the Republic, Parliament, the Council of States, and all of that. Article 35, 1. Ghana shall be a democratic state dedicated to the realization of freedom and justice, and accordingly, sovereignty resides in the people of Ghana, from whom government derives all its powers and authority through this constitution.
That's right.
Now, if you go further, as far as Chapter 6 on the Directive of State Policy is concerned, you will see that the Constitution has expressly and copiously outlined many of the objectives as far as building Ghana is concerned. Is it about our economic objectives? Is it about our social objectives? Is it about our political objectives and all of that? And so, if you were to take your time to study what is encompassed in in Chapter 6, right from Article 34 down, you would get to understand that you cannot, as it were, be lost as to the kind of Ghana that we need or the kind of Ghana that we deserve, as today's discussion wants to focus on. And so for me, the failure and our inability to adhere to all of these stipulations in the Constitution is the reason for which we have that bitter experience of having to come on platforms like this to remind ourselves and to remind especially those in authority about what we think they should do right and what they are doing wrong. And so for me, if you were to ask anybody the kind of Ghana that we deserve, I think that reference should be made to chapter 6 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, which talks about the directive principles of state policy.
And rightly so, because if you go through the provision in the chapter, as you said, the framers of the Constitution knew that Ghana, as it was then, within a particular period, should be able to attain certain things, having in mind the resources available to us. Unfortunately, it is so clear that if you compare Ghana now to even the directive principles, we are really lacking and we are behind. Sagu started by saying that sometimes people are, quick to blame the leadership and say that it's a leadership lapses. I don't know whether you have the same position.
Well, I think that it's a matter of yes and no, in my opinion. Because most often than not, we have heard the popular saying that leadership is cause, every other thing is effect. The point is that the little that I would have to do to make a change might not be able to, as it were, surpass what somebody in authority can do to make a change. And once the fellow fails in one way or the other to perform his part of the bargain, it goes to make nonsense of the little that I would have done. And so at a point in time, people would despair and throw their arms up in the air and just put the blame on leadership. Be it as it may, it is also important for us to realize that we are all being enjoined to exercise that attribute of patriotism, do the little that we can, so that cumulatively we could have some kind of results. Unfortunately, it is difficult for us to have a measure of what I can do and what you can do. At the end of the day, we are unable to have that effect. Otherwise, I agree that in one way or the other, those of us who are being led have also failed sometimes to perform our part of the bargain. But I would insist that leadership is cause, every other thing is effect. As to what leadership means is a matter for another discussion anyway.
How do we ensure that we migrate quickly to the kind of Ghana we deserve, particularly as enshrined in the Constitution, making reference to chapter 6? We've talked about challenges like leadership crisis and all that. But in our views, what do you think we can do? And I'll start that with you, Sakut. What do you think we can do? Practical solutions. What do you think?
I think practically one of the things that really is a base of our development is that we, as a society, we have become too partisan. And this is one of the downsides of so-called multi-party democracy.
That's right.
Because partisan that the political parties have become like tribes for us. I even believe that now political parties like NDC and PP, people are more attached to NDC and PP than they are attached to their tribe.
Very true.
In terms of their ethnicity.
Very true.
There are people who come from the same ethnicity, but they won't talk to each other because they belong to NDC and PP.
Yeah.
That is how really attached people are to the political parties. So that kind of partisanship does not allow us to hold our leaders responsible or accountable. That democratic accountability that they are supposed to give to us, like we talk about a social contract. And therefore, when you put people in authority, you give them national resources, you give them organizations and corporations to run.
Yeah.
You are supposed to be held responsible. But because of our partisan nature, we overlook when people are our party people and they are doing the wrong thing, we are quiet or we defend them. Then when it is the other party, then we criticize. And I know we are going to come and talk about OSP and all that,
right.
or even the issue of
dissemination of appointments.
That's right. And it's very interesting. I said this something earlier this evening, where the MPD people were very happy to dismiss those who were employed.
We'll get into
that's
that.
Right.
One.
So
we'll
sorry, I don't know what good, but that's an example.
Yes, example you were giving. So
how
I mean,
we cannot see wrong as wrong and right as right, and therefore we fail to hold our leaders responsible, or to give them KPIs that to ensure that they meet their performance standards. If not, you get them out. That's what they do in the industrialized countries, and so we have to get rid of this extreme partisanship, whereby, for example, we do not have internal democracy. You cannot criticize within your party, otherwise you are ostracized, you are sacked, you are dismissed, you are cancelled. Because we do not we do that kind of group think takes over critical thinking. You see, and this is a big problem for us. If you are going to develop, if you are going to go beyond where we are now, we have to be critical even of ourselves. Otherwise, so for me, this is a major part. But beyond this point, I also think that it's very important for us to have self-belief, self-confidence, believe in ourselves. You see, I think it's Marcus Garvey who said that a man who lacks confidence is defeated in whatever purpose that they want to pursue. But the one who has confidence has even won before they even began. We, as a people, we have a certain lack of self-confidence in ourselves. We believe that we are inferior. Our culture is inferior, and we worship foreign Western culture. And as long as we worship Western culture, we cannot develop our potential within ourselves, because we don't even believe that we really what we have is. Meanwhile, the European, the American, they are all coming here. They are all coming here. They want to come and work here. They want to come and do business here. And what do we want to do? We all want to migrate. Go to the American embassy, the Canadian embassy, even Chinese embassy. Go and see queues every day of young people. There are people who have spent 10 years trying to get a visa to go abroad. 10 years. And they spend so much money in this application. That money could have been invested in business. So that lack of self-confidence, this idea that Europe or America is heaven and Ghana or Africa is hell. If we don't get rid of that fiction, that delusion, we can go beyond where we are now, because we are going to keep chasing after this mirage. I mean, we talk about that, we've been out there before.
That's right.
We've been out there,
That's right.
And we know. One of the reasons I came back is because I discovered that Europe is not a heaven and Africa is not a hell.
Very well.
Exactly.
So the extreme partisanship, which I agree with you,
Yeah.
it is one thing. If we're able to tone it down, we'll be able to accelerate our development and get to the kind of Ghana we deserve.
That's right.
Mr. Shak, I don't know your proposed solution in ensuring that we move from where we are to the level where we ought to be.
Well, my thoughts would not be a complete departure from what Sakut just said.
Right.
But I think that we need to move the conversation beyond just politics,
Right.
like your show indicates. I think that there's something fundamentally wrong with the governance architecture in general. When we focus so much on politics and politicians, we allow some others within the civil service, within the public service, and those other services who have a certain mandate to continue to drag all of us down, but we continue to heap the blame on politics and politicians. All of these people, is it the Public Services Commission? Is it the head of the local government service? Is it the head of the civil service of Ghana or whatever? They have a certain mandate. They have a certain responsibility as far as building Ghana is concerned. But because of the long arm of politics and because of the extreme partisanship within our politics. Politicians smear themselves to the extent that we make these people, excuse me, they are fine, decent gentlemen in all of these other areas that I have mentioned. But I can also say that today, the problems that we have in as far as building our country is concerned, some of them can be found within these areas, the public services and all of those other things. And so I would say that we need to have a relook at the kind of governance architecture we want for ourselves. We need to, as it were, decouple a lot of things from the politics we do. Until we are able to do that, the politicians, as we are, will always continue to be politicians. But if we are able to put in place certain barricades or certain barriers that make it quite extremely difficult for the politicians to infiltrate, we may be getting some results that could help in building the Ghana we deserve. Away from that, it will be difficult, not impossible, but I think that the best way we could build the Ghana that we deserve is to ensure that those who have a certain mandate, which in one way or the other does not rest on the shoulders of the politicians, they do their part and let us do the politics, so that the politics would have minimal effect on those other things that they might have been able to do.
You see, it reminds me of what I keep saying, that if you get opportunity to be in the States for a while, you realize that the average American doesn't really care who becomes president. And it is just because of the governance system they have there. The structure is working so much that whoever becomes president does not affect the average American's access to basic necessities or needs. And that brings me to the next area I want us to look at. But viewers, it is clear that messages are coming in speedily, and so at the appropriate time they will be read and we will engage you also. We are talking about the Ghana we deserve. We've given some foundations or lead into this conversation. I want us to look at, and Sakut started by using the word everybody in almost the sentences that he made. In other words, it has nothing to do with whether you belong to MPP or you belong to NDC or you belong to PNC or CPP or any other party. Everybody, Ghanaians. When we talk of unemployment, when we talk of youth unemployment, I don't think the statistics will tell us that NDC youth are 20% unemployed, MPP youth are 40% unemployed, PNC youth or PNC members are 10% unemployed. And it doesn't go that way. It just says that Ghana's unemployment rate is this percentage. If that is the case, is it really, should we accept one thing that is speedily becoming a norm? And we find it typically when there's a change in government. And as far as I personally can recall, it started from the former president, John Kufuor's era. All the way till now, we are seeing it. A change in government brings about termination of appointments. Is it an appropriate thing? Or is it that we are still building a country where we are not looking at everybody, but we are looking at some individuals who belong to a certain political party? I'll start with you, Mr. Ishak.
Thank you. On scores such as this, I belong to the school of thought that it appears Ghana is overrated. We are overrated. We are not up to where we are usually placed or we are usually ranked.
Right.
Because, like you indicated with that example about the average, the attitude of the average citizen in America,
That's right,
as regard who becomes president.
That's right.
In Ghana, who becomes president or which party wins an election determines who gets to sweep the streets as a Zoo Lion officer.
That's true.
Right? It determines who gets to take care of a public toilet. It determines who gets to take care of a public borehole or water system. 67 years after independence, that is what we are engaged in, that we are the ray of hope in the continent of Africa. I agree that we have been able to sustain a certain level of I don't want to say democracy, because we abuse it. We abuse it. And so when you have such a country that after sustained change of political power in the last 32 years or so, from 1992, we are still engaged in what we are engaged in today, you cannot but agree that we are missing certain key elements in as far as governance is concerned. And that is the reason for which we are where we are. Right? Because if you have a government that takes over, and it will have to take the revocation of some appointments before some other people could be appointed.
That's right.
It means that we have not been able to build a sustainable system that offers jobs and employment to the people that deserve them. And I disagree entirely with what is happening today, because I disagreed with it yesterday.
That's right.
I disagreed with it the day before yesterday, and I can't support it today. We are building a country that belongs to everybody. And I will keep making references to to chapter 6 of the Constitution. It is the responsibility of government and successive governments to build such a system so robust that it will be able to take care of the needs and aspirations of everyone, regardless of where you come from, regardless of what party you belong to, and so on. Beyond that, we claim that we have promulgated a Transitions Act to ensure the smooth transition or transfer of power from one tenure to the other.
That's right.
What has become of that Transitions Act, which is law? If we have a Transitions Act and people blatantly abuse and disregard that Transitions Act, and they take decisions in a manner that are in flagrant contravention with the laws of the Transition Act, those people must be called to answer. The burden must not be put on innocent Ghanaians. If the Transition Act says that within a certain period you cannot take certain decisions at an outgoing government, why would the government do that? And those who took those decisions, they have not gone anywhere. They are still here. And if their act constitutes any crime of any sort, they should be called to come and answer. Because if I apply for a job for so many years, and then somebody gets up and says that within this particular window, there's a job available for you, I am not interested in what the Transitions Act say. But the one who is taking that decision is enjoying to know whether I can be employed within that space or not. And so if people get employed, and then they would have to suffer the consequences of the ineptitude of some public officer, I cannot support it. And so we need to have a second look at the Transition Act that we have promulgated onto ourselves as a people, because the essence of that act is to forestall some of these things from happening. But it appears that the kind of politics that we do, the outgoing government always attempts to offload a certain burden onto the incoming government, so that the politics for the next election will start right from there. You understand?
Yes.
So there's a cause and effect situation that needs to have a certain balancing, so that at the end of the day, we would not come back in 8 or 4 years' time to come and sit on a platform like this and be discussing these things. Something led to this action that is being taken by the government of the day. And I think that we should be looking at how we could balance the situation. Like I indicated, those who took those actions, if they infringe any part of the law, let us call them to come and answer. Beyond that, what would we be able to do to accommodate those who were deservingly giving those appointments. If they didn't meet the criteria, if they were not, as it were, there are a lot of criteria that people have to meet.
That's right.
Before you get engaged by government. Did they meet those things? If they were unable to meet those criteria, then I think that they might, as it were, be crying wolf. But in the face of the law, the decision taking might be right. But I think that on the political side of it, I would not subscribe to the decision by the government to revoke the appointment of deserving Ghanaian youth who, in one way or the other, need to be catered for, because we are in a system where government in Ghana is the largest employer.
That's true.
The reason for which the government is always saddled with arrears and unnecessary debts and all of that. We need to create an enabling environment for other businesses to offer employment opportunities and for people to go into self-employment. It will free the government to be able to do the things that it can do.
Fantastic. You see, this reminds me of the two school of thoughts. There's one that says that, well, it is an avenue to create employment, just like Audu said. And so if these are individuals who are qualified, why do we want to punish them? There's another school of thought that says that, well, it is deliberate by the outgoing president or the government to add some unnecessary burden to the public purse or to the incoming government. And so one argues that, well, it is good that their appointment is terminated. The other one says that, no, you don't have to terminate the appointment because they are all Ghanaians. But the bottom line is, should we continue having what we call elimination by substitution, where at the end of the day, because we want to employ others, we will find a way of taking some people out and create an avenue and then employ the others. Ishak made something, a comment which is so profound, and I really like that. Is it that the Transition Act that is governing us, prevents outgoing government from employing at a certain period? If it does, then those individuals who breached it, what are we doing to them? And that's important. Why then do we say, and of course, unless I am proven wrong, but my understanding of the transition thing, there's no provision that says that within a certain period before 7th January, a government, an outgoing government, or a government that is moving out, doesn't have the right to employ. But even if they don't have the right to employ, the question is, why do you want to punish the innocent ones and not the ones who actually breached the law, if indeed there's any law to that? So good. I don't know your take on this. Employment, but we can reduce it to youth employment and then look at whether or not this termination of appointments, which we seem to be having every 4 years or 8 years, whether it is really helping Ghana.
Obviously it is not helping Ghana, but I think you have to look at the root. What is the root cause of this? The root cause of this is the nature of our politics, which is a winner takes all system, or the zero-sum game that we play in this our multi-party democracy. Now we are probably reducing this matter to those who are employed on the after 7th of December. But as a matter of fact, we have an ongoing purge.
That's right.
Of chief executives, managing directors, PROs, etc., in all the state institutions.
Right. Yeah.
Now, would you say that all of them, all the people who worked in who run state institutions under the previous government, all belong to that previous government? Maybe, maybe not. But clearly, there are people who worked under the previous government who didn't support that previous government.
That's right.
Otherwise, the previous government would not have lost power.
Exactly.
There are people who worked in the previous government that didn't support the previous government. Some of us, because of the work we do, we had a lot of sources within the government. People in government were telling us telling us what that was going on.
That's right.
This is because there were people who were within the government structure or machinery, but did not support the government. So that brings us to exactly what has caused it. The winner takes all, because this is the mentality that if NDC wins, you have to be NDC to get a position. So rather than it being like we are coming to serve or we are coming to develop Ghana, it's as if you've gone to war and you've won the battle and you are now come to share the loot. So if you are not NDC, you cannot be part.
Exactly.
The same way that MPP did. If you are not MPP, you cannot be part. And so this is something that has been established from 1992. At least that's what I can refer to the Fourth Republic, where every party comes and they want to move everybody, person who was under the previous government and etc. Now, the issue of people be employed after the December elections, I'm not very conversant with the Transition Act.
That's right.
So we might have to do some work on that. But let's even say that the Transition Act recognizes or does not recognize it. The point is that I really don't think that if you lose power after the people have voted it out of power, that is when you should be taking major decisions that have an impact on the budget, on the budget of the next government. That look, for example, with the MPP, after 7th December, they did not even pass a transitional budget for the NDC to take over the country. Exactly,
they struggled to
last minute.
Yes.
So if you don't even have a transitional budget, why are you adding what do you call it, a burden onto the national what do you call it, exchequer? Because you know that there's no provision for this kind of employment, and therefore you are burdening the next government, and they are aware of it. I was listening to Osafo Mafo, who in 2017 said, look, if after 7th December you go and employ the people and you expect us to pay them in January, how is the money going to come from? And I thought that was a reasonable thing to say.
Right.
But the funny thing is that this is what you were thinking, and therefore in 2017 you thought, no, we cannot overburden ourselves. We have to let you go, and then we will probably assess our situation and we can re-employ later. But why is it that now they are complaining? Because if it's the power of principle, and that you thought it was not a good thing that the NDC hired people after 7th December 2016. And therefore you took certain positions. Now the NDC has done the same thing. They've taken the same kind of position and you're complaining. Which means it's not about the principle. It's not about the principle. It's about convenience. When it's convenient for you, then it's like when a man is going to trial and he's for corruption and he's your party member, then you say it is witch hunting.
That's right.
But if it is your opponent's party member, then you say this is social justice. My brother here is championing social justice, right?
Right.
That's right. So if we're really seeking social justice, then we have to stick by the principle, not what is convenient for us or not convenient for us. That's the principle. So if you dismiss all the people that the NDC employed after 7th December 2016, and you explain to Ghanaians that look, this was not a good thing for them to do, then you should not have even employed people after 7th December. You've lost power. If you lose power, you're supposed to start preparing handing over notes. Why are you employing people? So you see, so at the end of the day, you're trying to set the system against the people of Ghana, the young people.
That's right.
Now, if the young people are dismissed or disappointed, they are going to say the NDC is a bad government, Mahama is a bad president. But is that the case?
No.
Because this is exactly, as my brother said, this is exactly what the MPP anticipated. That when we will hire them anyway, we know that when NDC comes, they will say we are going to disappoint them. Because they
did the same thing.
So it's about the politics.
That's right.
So you are using the Ghanaian youth to play politics. You know that this job you are giving them is not sustainable. You are not supposed to give it to them, but you are giving it to them so they are happy for a moment. And then it's taken away from them. You have the opportunity to hire people. Why don't you hire them all this time? Why are you waiting until 7th December? Why didn't you hire them even before 7th December?
right.
Because you had the opportunity. I mean,
Exactly.
7 December just one day.
Just one day.
So why did you wait until after 7 December when you now you lost power? So this is the problem. I think the problem is the winner takes all mentality. There's zero sum game that when we win, it has to be for our people. And you know, also there's a lot of pressure within.
I know.
There's a lot of pressure within.
There's a lot of
so
pressure.
we do the NDC now. There are
A lot of
people,
expectation.
a lot of people who are wondering why are you allowing some people, known MPP people. For example, I saw on social media yesterday where people were agitating against some guy at Cocoa Board who is a prominent MPP media guy who's supposed to be PR or whatever. And they are putting pressure on Randy Abbey and say, why are you keeping this guy there? We have a lot of PRO people. Would you say that is not a justified call? After all, these people work for the NDC to power. This guy who is there worked for the MPP to remain in power. So if MPP has lost, it's not just to say, look, get off, let somebody else come. You know, you have to look at it from all different angles. But I think we have to, if it is not in the Transition Act, it has to be there so that it is law. So you can't even go and play. I suspect that the reason why the NDC, for example, in 2016, after December 7th, they employed people and MPP came and sacked them. And MPP has come to do the same thing last year. It means there's no law. Really. The Transition Act possibly does not make it categorical.
Right.
That's why they are able to play all this. But if it's categorical,
right. Yeah.
it says after 7 December, the incumbent government cannot hire people unless you are maintaining power. If you are maintaining power, of course, then you can hire people because you take the responsibility.
Exactly.
But if you lost power, don't hire people. No,
ethically, I mean, for the principles and the sake of good governance,
That's
you don't
right.
even do this.
No,
you know.
But the problem is that both parties are guilty of this. Because in 2016, the NDC did it, and MPP came and disappointed all the people.
That's right.
And now the MPP has come to do it also in 2024. And now NDC says we are going to remove them. So when will this cycle stop? So when will this game that we are just playing with the people stop? Why is it that we cannot take Ghanaians seriously? If you lose power, you have lost. Don't fool your foot soldiers. Don't put them in position that you know that it's not secure. Because at the end of the day, we will keep discussing this over and over again.
Sakrit, you know, there's and I have always said the reason why I am a bit passionate about this topic,
yes,
or this discussion, is the fact that personally I have been a victim of this.
That's right.
I wasn't working as an employee of the government, but I have my own business that I do.
Yes.
And I was, relying to some extent on workings that came from government agencies and institutions.
Yes.
There was a change in government, and right after, even pending contracts and agreements that I was having, they were all cancelled. And they were cancelled because the reason is that I was speaking, and it seemed like what I was saying was against a certain government. Just on that note.
Yes.
So what we are talking about is something that most of us have lived it. It's a personal thing, we have lived it. But the question is, how long should we continue this way? I am one of the best persons justifiable to say that, look, what termination, if NDC has come and they have terminated an appointment, so be it. Because it's happened to some people before. But you see, if we want to build the Ghana that we all deserve, we must stop it at a point.
Yes.
And that is why I also like so much when the current government was talking about 24-hour economy, creating jobs and making sure that everyone is treated as Ghanaians. I have said that you need not be treated because you hold a certain political party card. You should be treated simply because you are a Ghanaian. And that is why I like the word everybody.
That's right.
Not NDC, not MPP.
That's social justice.
Everybody, that's social justice.
Yes.
And I also think that one of the things we need to do is to find a way of encouraging our leaders to a large extent think outside the box. If we are resetting Ghana and we keep doing the old things, it will be difficult for us to really reset Ghana. And again, I have said that if you look at the last elections, the percentage as to the number of people
who went out to vote, it was so clear that we had a low turnout.
That's right.
Among other things, and that is one thing people don't realize, but among other things, if I'm making reference to the Afrobarometer report that came prior to the elections, it told us that, or it came out clearly to tell us that most Ghanaians were losing confidence in the democracy that we're practicing. And so, can it be that most people decided not to go and vote the last election, not necessarily because they were angry with any political party, but probably because they were just fed up with the governance and the democracy that we're practicing? And so if we want to build that hope, bring that confidence back, then it is important for us to be seen, especially our leaders, to communicate to all of us clearly that we are moving away from certain practices that never helped us. And that is very, very important. I want us to go to the other one, which has to do with the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the fight against corruption. But before then, there are a number of messages that have come to. I want to bring in my viewers also.
This one says, good evening to you and your panelists. Good discussion. Stay blessed. And this is from Reverend AJ. Reverend AJ, thank you for doing the viewing. This one, let me look at the other one before I go to the main one. This one says, hi, Mr. Wilson. It's me, your boy, Ghana Malema. I must confess your show is becoming one of the best in the country. Keep it up, sir. I will continue to learn from you, boss. Your expertise... Your ex-party's general secretary is in a different level and is making reference to Ishak. Looking at the kind of grammar he selects to speak on, it's okay, Malima, I won't go further. This one says, congratulations, Mr. Wilson. Let us think of how this program can reach other networks. I am Daniel Sime, a politician and a retired assistant Auditor General. Thank you so much, sir. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. My name is Tony, and I appreciate the work you are doing. I believe that our President JDM, upon attending the conference in Germany, spelled out exactly and what we Africans need, as in workable solutions that will extricate us from the grips of the Western world. Prospectively, His Excellency the President demonstrated how things can be done, what we needed, and when it can be achieved. I obviously see Nkrumah's vision in JDM, and he is the man to watch on the continent, on the African continent. Thank you. Okay, Tony, yes, thank you. You didn't tell us where you were sending the message from. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I think leadership crisis and parochial interests of our politicians are the problems for your beloved Ghana, our beloved. It is also your beloved Ghana. I asked, how can we have almost everything, including natural resources, yet we are suffering? Bad leadership, I think. And this is from Reverend Justice Apusa from Ho. Hello, Mr. Wilson. Please, I need you to read this message for me. Please. Okay, I'm reading it. Please, do you know that we have a citizen working in Ghana, which they are paying them, and in Ghana, the AMA sanitation boys are working hard by their, but their pay is very small. They said they have something called IJF. People are still over 16 years, still they don't pay them well. Please, JDM, we are not understand. Okay, it is not so clear, but okay. Thank you so much. You didn't even add your name. Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson. Ghana can only be reset, or the Ghana we deserve, if Ken and the National Service robbery is tackled and the thieves brought to book. Okay, you are Sonny. Sonny, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I really love your program. May the Almighty Allah continue to protect and guide you. I'm Jagbo from Tamale. Thank you so much, Jagbo. The Ghana we all deserve is where after university, there's more jobs for us. In fact, this your topic is getting me emotional. How can I complete university since 2017 and have been unemployed to date after studying statistics? I wish I wasn't part of this Ghana at all. This is Mensa from Kumasi. I understand, Mensa. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. This may not be part of the topic, but please, what about bringing back the culture of the workforce, reverting to wearing uniforms for identification? My humble opinion. Okay, Smile, you didn't add your name. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. This captain from WA I have been following your... Oh, this is Captain from WA. I have been following your program keenly, and I learned much from it. Thank you so much, Captain. Good evening, Mr. Watson. The Ghana we deserve must be the Ghana where everyone, including politicians, are accountable to the people and the citizenry, also doing what is expected from them, especially our nurses. I agree. I mean, it is a two-way in the leaders and the citizens. We must all play our part. Good evening, Mr. Watson. Ghana's problem now is religion. Our religious leaders have failed us woefully. I am Christian Ikwamwa from Odome Chala in the Oti region of Ghana. My regards to W1 Wanade, okay, Emmanuel in Sunyani. Thank you. Hi, Mr. Wilson. It's me, okay, Malima. You found your way here again. Okay, thank you. I'm watching you live from Western North region, Sifi also. Big ups to the General Secretary of PNC. He's really a hard-working man from the Regional Secretary of Western North region. All right. Yes, Awuni, that's right. Okay, so good evening, Mr. Wilson. Thank you for the good work you are doing. We are suffering a lot. Some of us, this is the opportunity that we have had. By looking at this movement by the government, we have to go home again and suffer again. But no problem. How can you identify NDC members involved? For this, we have to speak against. It is not good at all. Honorable, Honorable is good president to, okay, not so clear. Mr. Wilson, please, we want EC to pay us during the 2024 election. The EC took some money, some people to work for them, and as it stands, we haven't gotten anything. Unlike the VOs and other people okay, the name is not there. Okay, thank you. Mr. Wilson, it is not lost in me when people used to say education is the key to success. But now, that preaching has totally lost its meaning and content. Most of the youth have completed schools for the past 5 years, but can't find the key. I want to ask, is the lost or has been thrown into the sea? Okay, this is Wisdom from Upper West region. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Please, the current government should remember some of us who are dying slowly after 5 years tertiary completion. I am Inkoto Senior from Ewutu Senior West. All right. Good evening, Mr. Wilson Jr. and the fellow senior men in your studio. I disagree with Sakut in regards to the immigration, where the youth prefer going abroad while foreigners come to Ghana. The whole government body needs to be restructured because we give much attention to foreigners than our own in the name of working experience. There should be a policy that safeguards the employee as well as the employer, regardless your political affiliation. For the OSP, the less said about him, the better. But I personally think His Excellency DADM should leave him to prosecute his own people. I'm Hussein Mohammed from Sifi, Adabo Krum Polyclinic. Okay, I'll come back because our time is really fast spent. Let's quickly touch on the next area, which has to do with the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the fight against corruption. I have my own position on it, but I want to seek your thoughts on it, and I'll start with you, Sakut. The Office of the Special Prosecutor, the fight against corruption, with particular reference to just last week's press conference, where he was declaring the former finance minister a fugitive. The question I'm asking, how has the Office of the Special Prosecutor's posture helped us in the fight against corruption?
Before I come to that, let me just say that with regards to what we were discussing earlier, I'm happy that we have this constitutional review commission. Because most of these things are things that can be cured by the Constitution. So I hope that the Constitutional Review Commission will encode some of these things to make sure that parties or governments don't take arbitrary decisions that we have to keep talking about all the time, because others will then come and undo their decisions and etc. etc. But to the special prosecutor,
that's right.
I have had a very, very personal interest in the special prosecutor's work. I followed Martin Midu for a very long time, and when the circumstances that led to his departure, and eventually this Ajabin guy who has come. And I must say that I'm not very happy with the way the special prosecutor goes about his work. Why do I say so? The job of the special prosecutor is not a show.
That's right.
It's not a show. It's not for public imagery or gimmickry. It's not for self-promotion. It is to fight against corruption. But it appears that we have a special prosecutor who is more interested in doing show and it's populism. I think that's the right word to use. And I think he has a lot to learn from probably the former special prosecutor, Matamidu. Why am I saying so? Look, we're in this country when Cecilia Dapa was caught with a lot of money under her bed, dollars, and etc. etc. This special prosecutor, young man, I'm happy he's a very young man. When young men are in this kind of position, but he's giving a very bad testimony for young leaders. Rather than focusing on the job, he went about doing the same show. At the end of the day, he came to tell us that the Cecilia Dapa's crime or alleged crime was not under his that was money laundering that exactly. After taking us for a ride for 6 months. So what was that whole show about? Why did he not focus on the job? Why did you not allow those who were supposed to do the job to do it? But you ran amok and you did that whole show and we were all excited. At the end of the day, you just came and spoke English to us and you withdrew and that matter died. A natural death. It is the same thing he's about to do in this case. And I'm afraid that if we are not careful, if we don't check this man, Ken Oforeta will even become a hero.
That's right.
In fact, I think that he has even made Ken Oforeta a hero. Why am I saying that? You want to go after the man. You waited. You're a special prosecutor. You have all kinds of intelligence network. You know whatever is going on. You sat there and waited for the man to go. You lost them. When they lost power, they're all sitting here. You sat there. You watched them to go. Now, you wanted to talk to the man, and the man has been corresponding with you through his lawyers, for whatever reasons. Then you come out and you go and make a press conference and say whatever you said. And the lawyers came out and said, look, but this is the conversation we had. The man, his hospital even wrote to you and etc. So what is this all about? And he couldn't respond to all these things that the kind of lawyers came to say. Now, this is the man nobody likes in this country. Even his party people don't like him. Maybe only his family people.
Exactly.
Not even all his family people likes him. Because this kind of guy really took Ghana for a ride and helped a lot of his friends to loot this country. So much money. In fact, this is a guy as a finance minister who personally benefited from borrowing that we were even the country was engaging in. Who don't want afford that to be prosecuted? Everybody wants him to be prosecuted. So do it in a way that he cannot escape. You don't do it in a way that it makes me feel as if maybe he's trying to find a route, an escape route for that to escape. Because otherwise, look at what he came and said. Prior to his press conference, some security people, national security people, had gone to invade the man's house. And unfortunately for them, the man's house had a CCTV camera.
That's right.
That captured them.
Yeah.
Now the special prosecutor comes out because people had claimed that it couldn't be such a coincidence. He must be aware. He must have been the one who sent the people to go and that was genuine because we didn't know what. And then he comes out to say, look, he has intelligence. In fact, he called it actionable intelligence. That showed that the whole security operation at Kenofore's house was staged by the former Minister for Finance. Staged.
And that was so dangerous to make.
And so at the end of the day, our own government, the majority leader, stood in Parliament and to confess that this was a national security operation. So what kind of actionable intelligence was our
special
prosecutor talking about? Does that mean that the special prosecutor nobody's talking
That's a
about
good
when he
question.
talks. Because how can you go and say it's been staged? Couldn't he have done some background checks to
Which could have been done so easily.
Because the special prosecutor must work with national security.
Exactly. Yeah.
Work with state apparatus. So if you come and say it's staged, then what value can we put on everything else that you have said? Because how can a special prosecutor miss this simple information that this was carried out by the government or by the national security apparatus? He said it was staged, and apparently it has not been staged, because the government has come out to say this was not staged, and they have even apologized for what they did. And the special prosecutor is quiet, and that's what makes me feel that the special prosecutor is pursuing the same line of action he did with Cecilia Dapa, and the results will not be different. Because Ken Ofori-Atta, we shall be roasting him by now. We shall be discussing the crimes, or the charges that he has against him. So we'll be analyzing all the corrupt cases that he got involved in. But now, what are we talking about? We are talking about whether or not, in fact, because the government even apologized to the man. How can the government be apologizing to this man that we all want him to be prosecuted? Why are they apologizing to Ken Ofori-Atta? So you see, clearly, Ken Ofori-Atta has beaten the government and the special prosecutor to the PR and the PR war because of the simple CCTV camera he had in his house and all the information that they released. So the story died. Just like that. How can the story die? And this is I think this is a lesson for the government, the new government. I think the new government hasn't taken the media yet hasn't taken control of the media. Today there was a front page of the Daily Graphic that was circulating all over the place. On the front page of the Daily Graphic, there were 4 headline stories on the Daily Graphic of today. Today is what? 18th?
It's 17th.
17th. 4 headline stories. 3 of the stories were all negative stories against the government. One was talking about President Mahama at the UN, at the security, whatever. One. This is state-owned Daily Graphic. 3 of the stories were all
negative,
like supporting the MPP. We are reporting MPP criticism of the government. Is that what the situation should be? That means clearly the government does not even have control of the media. Even state-owned media, the government doesn't have control of state-owned media. So how can the story against Ken Ofori-Atta that we all want him to be prosecuted, how can this story run more than 48 hours? It will die. And if we have a special prosecutor who, rather than focusing on the procedure to get things done, wants to do a show, we will achieve nothing. So look, I want to advise Issa Ajabin. He's a young man. He may be a lawyer, etc. But you see, emotional intelligence is very important, because the law is one thing, but the maturity with which you need to act to achieve the results. I want to believe that he's just acting out of lack of emotional intelligence.
That's right. Yeah.
But I don't want to believe that he's doing it intentionally. He's doing a bidding of the MPP, and he's doing it intentionally to get the guy to escape. Because the same thing he did with Cesar Dapa, I'm afraid that if he goes about it like this, he will miss the point with Ken Ofori-Atta. He must stop the media thing. And look, this guy, when he's even going to the press conference, he hasn't put it out for everybody in the media to do. Journalists, you never know where he's doing his press conference until he doesn't. So you can see that he's even not so transparent. He's a bit sneaky with how he goes about his media encounters, and then he just goes and just flop. This was a big flop, and I hope that you take a lesson. But if we're supposed to have an apology, it should come from Kisa Ajabin, not Mahama Ayariga. Not the majority leader. Not the majority leader. I don't understand why the majority leader had to go and speak and apologize.
That's fine. Saku, thank you so much. Let me come to Mr. Ishak Awudu. Your bite on it.
Well, Kisi Ajabin, I think that he had a very splendid career as a lawyer. But I think that so far as special prosecutor, he's yet to meet the expectations of even those who probably might have recommended him for appointments as the special prosecutor. Because I think that so far he's not been able to, as it were, reach the level of Mr. Martin Amidu, even though there has not been any standard measuring rod as regards their work. But listening to Sakut speak and knowing the many times that he has failed, as it were, to successfully prosecute any high-profile case, I want to support the many who think that he needs to up his game if indeed he's really committed to this particular job. Personally, I was part of those who were not enthused about the decision to even have the office of a special prosecutor in the first place. And on top of that, we now have to come and discuss those who have to make that office work. And I feel so lethargic that we banked a lot of our hopes, especially in the fight against corruption, on whether we had a special prosecutor or not. We have one now. I think the Office of Special Prosecutor was created somewhere in 2021 or so. Or was it 2019?
Yes.
So from 2021 up to now, what has the government of Ghana achieved? Because quite clearly, our governance architecture, even though is blamable for some of the things that we grapple with in as far as corruption is concerned, has made adequate provisions to fight corruption, no matter how cancerous it is. We have passed a lot of legislations. Our issue, Mr. Wilson, like you have our issue, like you have always maintained, is that of enforcement and commitment. The lack of the will and the commitment to enforce the laws that are supposed to stand in the way of corrupt people and corruption is the bane. Not a lack of institutional frameworks. We have had elaborate institutional frameworks. Why? If Mr. Kisi Ajabun can investigate a matter as popular as that of Madam Cecilia Dapa, and after 6 months or so, he comes to tell us that it lies within the purview of IOCO. So we know that IOCO has a mandate. We do not have confidence in that mandate of IOCO, and it will have to take the office of a special prosecutor to take care of something like that. Go to the ministries. We have the Financial Management Acts, Internal Audit Agency Acts. We have IOCO. We have the DNA, now they say we should call it NIB. We have the Police CID. We have the Financial Intelligence Center. Name them. How possible is it that the people who engage in these corrupt activities, especially within the public service, are able to evade all of these checks? Clearly, there's collusion somewhere. There's a lack of the will by some people in authority to exercise that mandate given them. Because it is men who are supposed to operate the system. It is not on automation.
That's right.
So that human element, that human factor that allows itself to compromise in one way or the other is the reason for which the fight against corruption is failing. I am not surprised that a lot of people are beginning to lose faith and confidence in not just Mr. Kisi Ajabing as special prosecutor, but the office of special prosecutor in its entirety. And if we were to sit here and narrow down the fight against corruption to how effectively or how efficiently the office of special prosecutor would work, I can tell you that we are going to lose the fights. It will appear to us that we are attempting to catch the wind, which is impossible. And so for me, of course, the evidence abound. You don't need anybody to tell you that Honorable Ken Ofurata did a lot of things that he should not have done. Most of them, they border on corruption. Most of them, they border on criminality. And once you infringe the law, you have to face the law. You have to answer questions. Right? Why would it have to take the special prosecutor So are you saying that post 2018, if anybody had done what Mr. Ken Oforita had done, the law would not be able to catch up with the person? Because we had the Office of Special Prosecutor only in 2018.
That's right.
What are the other agencies doing? Those other agencies that existed before the coming into force of the Office of Special Prosecutor, mandated to fight corruption, mandated to hold office holders responsible. What are they doing? That everybody today is focusing on what the special prosecutor will be able to do to Mr. Ken Oforita. It's a shame.
That's right.
So I want to tell those other people, those other agencies that have a similar mandate, do your work and not let the responsibility lie on the Office of Special Prosecutor. Ken Oforita has done a lot of harm to this country. We need to set a precedent. We need to let people understand that when you are given opportunity to act, you are acting in the stead of the people of Ghana. And whatever responsibility you are given, there are enough safeguards. What you can do, what you cannot do. You do not have a blank check.
Thank you so much. So, I mean, in line with the issue bordering on the special prosecutor, but now let me just acknowledge the fact that our producer, our mind producer, has been very charitable to let us really go beyond the 9 o'clock. And so we've really gone beyond the time, but we want to appreciate, I think it's because of the conversation that we are having. But regarding the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana still maintain that that office is irrelevant when it comes to the fight against corruption. And if indeed we want an office to operate as mandated by the Act called Special Office of the Special Prosecutor, the best we can do is to fold it up and create a department under Attorney General's ministry for it to operate there as a department and not standing on its own. You know why? We call it Office of the Special Prosecutor, but the truth is he doesn't even have any prosecutorial powers. He seeks his mandate and authority from the Attorney General. And so irrespective of the investigations he will do, if the Attorney General does not give him the mandate or the powers to continue with it, he will not. That's the first thing. The second thing we should also appreciate is the fact that the special prosecutor, particularly Kisi Jabi, I'm not making reference to Martin Amidu, Kisi Jabi in particular, it looks like he lacks some understanding when it comes to procedural laws. Almost all cases he has taken to court, that has yielded no result. They were flopped because of procedural lapses. I don't know whether it is deliberate. I don't know whether he's misleading the public. I don't know whether it's a strategy or a game that he's playing. But the truth of the matter is that he cannot continue wasting the taxpayers' money on that office in the name of fighting corruption, whereas we end up getting nothing out of it. I have said, and I'm on record to say, when Mr. Frimpong or Professor Frimpong Boateng's encounter with the special prosecutor, I said emphatically on so many platforms that the posture the special prosecutor has taken, there's no way we'll get to the end of any of these matters. And truly so, years on, it is so clear that we don't even know what has happened to Cecilia Dapa's case. Neither do we know what has happened in the case of Professor Frimpong Boateng and many others. Is it that he's using his office just to victimize people and to create the impression that he's working? If you are fighting corruption, you don't do it in the court of public opinion. You do it in the court of competent jurisdiction. He should stop running to the media, seeking unnecessary attention. That is not how to fight corruption. Get your facts right and take it to the court. Go and retrieve our monies for us. But you see, one other reason why I believe strongly that the Office of the Special Prosecutor needs to be scrapped is also the fact that since its inception to date, let's look at the indices and the statistics. Corruption Perception Index, at least for the past 4 or 5 years, it has never gotten better. No. What does it tell us? If we are seeking results from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, one of the measurements should be that Corruption Perception Index is improving in this country. But if it is not improving, then the question is, what are we doing? Why do we then say that we are fighting corruption? We'll continue this conversation next week because it's a conversation which is very dear to all of us as far as the Ghana we deserve is concerned. All too soon, this is where time will allow us. I know my guests have a lot to say, but as I said, we'll continue the conversation. It's not ending here now. Also, my viewers, the number of messages that I'm unable to read, please forgive me. We'll continue engaging and sharing ideas on the various platforms that we find ourselves in. But a quick one of our viewers in Obuase, and I'm making reference to Hanin Ishak. Today is your birthday. I know you are doing the viewing. We wish you a happy birthday. And then I also want to say, on behalf of you, my viewer, a very big thank you to my wonderful guests that we've had this evening. I believe that we've had a very insightful conversation, as we've always been doing. Sagut, thank you so much. We'll have another time when we come back on stage to also talk a bit more about your book, Unchained. We'll do that. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Audu, my own Audu. Thank you so much. It's really good. It's really good to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Viewers, this is where time will allow us. Till we meet again next week. I'm still your host, Emmanuel Wilson Jr., the Chief Crusader Against Corruption Ghana. And next week, we'll come again with another insightful episode. Till we meet again next week. Same time on your platform TV XYZ, 8 p.m. That's on Monday. All I can say for now is good night.